Ladies and gentlemen, look at us. Look at us. We are doing it for the first time live in the Vital Pursuit podcast studio. Welcome. I am so excited. I can't even begin to tell you or explain to you how excited I am to be here in the studio, aka my garage, for the first time with y'all to dive into this podcast thing. I'm going to say I'm excited at least 150 times in the next few minutes. So prepare yourself for that. But welcome, guys. Welcome in. This is cool. This is something I've wanted to do for so long, and finally getting to do it and pursue it at this level just jacks me up, man. I'm so excited. So, what are we doing today? Today is just going to be a little bit of a intro, get to know me, get to know the podcast a little bit, and where are we and where we're going type of situation, okay? So, yeah, let's just start with that. Actually, let's start with who we are, okay? So, yeah, I'm Drew. Nice to meet you. I live in Wisconsin right now with my beautiful wife and my daughter and soon to be new son in a couple weeks. Super excited about that. I am a full-time journeyman plumber. That's what I do for work. That's how I make my money and how I take care of my family. And that has been good to me throughout the years. My wife is a full-time nurse in the ER here in town, and we are just living our life one day at a time right now, trying to work on building the house or find land to build a house on, I should say, which is super exciting. One day at a time there with that saga that has been. But yeah, we met in college down in Florida. There's another long story there that we'll dive into in a couple episodes when she comes on the podcast. But yeah, we met in Florida, and she obviously fell madly in love with me, which you can probably see why. She fell madly in love with me, and it was pretty much just perfect after that. Not being sarcastic at all there, zero problems in our relationship. But yeah, that's pretty much our life. And then, we lived in Ohio after school. I was finishing up my apprenticeship and she was doing nursing there. And then we had our first baby and decided to move here to Wisconsin. And God just blessed so much in that move, that could have been a really challenging time. And it was, to some level, but God provided me with just a dream job as far as plumbing goes. And Cassie got a super good job as well right off the rip there. And it's just been really, really good for us. Had a great place to live right away in this apartment that we've been blessed to be in. Just super blessed. So really thankful for that easy transition there. And that pretty much just fast forward, we're going to say, brings us to today, to where we're at. So how the hell did we get here? Big question. Everybody wants to know. How did we go from being a pretty successful journeyman plumber to suddenly wanting to start a podcast and a YouTube channel and do this content creation stuff and all that jazz? So let's jump in head first. Here we go. Struggles are what led us here. So right out of the gate, this past year has been probably the hardest year of my life for a few reasons. Mentally for sure, physically a little bit, but mainly mentally. Had some really challenging things face us as a family and me personally that I think led me here. But ultimately, let me break it down for you like this. I was at the lowest point mentally that I have ever been in my life. And I think there's a few things that led to that, but ultimately, I just didn't feel I did not feel fulfilled at all in what I'm doing daily with most of my time to make money. And that's a real struggle. And I think ultimately that just pulled me into a lot of negative thinking surrounding feeling like I was wasting my life. And there's also I I don't want to, I don't like to blame things that I feel on other things, and I don't like to drag other things into it. But, I lost a really good friend this year as well. And I think that plays into this for sure. Whether yeah, it just does. Stuff's different, and I view time different, and I don't think I will ever view time the same again. And, you know, I just I felt like I was really wasting my life, and, going to work every day, doing the thing, on that grind, making the money, providing for your family. I Obviously that's not a waste, but I got caught in this negativity loop, they call it negativity bias. And I just got caught in that loop of constantly feeling like I was wasting my time, wasting my life. And it just drug me into this hole of, honestly, probably depression, I guess. But, I've never had anxiety that I know of, at least, I guess, until now. And just anxiety and stress and like panic attacks and just stuff that I've watched other people close to me go through, but never went through myself. And man, did it just hit me out of left field. Like, oosh, like you're in a bad spot now, dude. Um, yeah. So I'm doing much better now. Thank you for asking. And that's why we're here. We are here because the reason I'm sitting here, the only reason I'm sitting here doing much better is a few things: God, family, friends, and podcasts. First of all, God. He is the Lord of my life. If you didn't know, now you know. And that's always going to be something that we talk about here on this podcast. Um, he saved me. He made me who I am. And if you want to know more about that, you shoot me a DM because we'll talk about it anytime. But God, number one. Number two, I have the most amazing friends and family that you could possibly imagine. And the cool part about this podcast is you're going to get to meet them all and get to know them on hopefully a level that you never would have had an opportunity to before until now. But I had the most amazing friends and family help me get through all of this. And then podcasts. I'm going to just be honest. I learned and have learned so much from podcasts on all of this. Modern Wisdom, Joe Rogan, um, Lex Friedman, just, the list goes on and on of all the podcasts that have really taught me to a little bit, just a little bit, be able to have conversations with people and learn to um, speak in a way that's not just to respond, but to listen and to learn from people you disagree with and so many things. But, you know, all these things coming together, I I wish I could point to like an exact day I just started to feel better through everything I was going through and through everything I felt. But basically, I read a book that a pastor at my church told me to read. Shout out to you. You know who you are. Hope to get you on the podcast soon. But he had me read a book that helped me figure out what my vision is. And that book is, I believe, pronounced Chazon or Chazon. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically like the Greek or Hebrew word for vision. And that book seriously helped me learn what my vision was for my life. And come to find out, it is to make those around me better through the things that I have been given gifts in, which is, I think, super cool and spot on now looking back. But that was a big deal. And then, there was one specific podcast episode from Modern Wisdom, and it was with a fellow by the name of Dry Creek Dwayne, I believe he goes by on Instagram or something. But just a cowboy who is invested in men's health because of his own struggles. And long story short is you know, I think the noise is what had me down so bad. So much noise of you're never going to make enough money. You're never going to be successful enough. You're moving towards the top of your field and you still feel like you're not, accomplishing anything. You don't have enough time to pursue bow hunting like you want. You don't have enough time to pursue your daughter and your wife like you want. Like, everybody says you're doing so damn good. Everybody says you're so damn successful. And I didn't feel that way, though. I wished I felt about myself the way other people felt about me or told me that I should feel. And I didn't. And so back to the podcast episode, I think what I had to do was figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's got to be more than making money because you never have enough. It's got to be more than reaching a certain point in my career because you'll never reach it. It's got to be about something bigger. And I found it. And that podcast episode with him, Dwayne brought up the point of finding your main thing and then just keep the main thing, which when he said it, I'm like, okay, bud, that sounds super, cliche, like cool. I wish it was that easy. Well, come to find out it's not, but it is. And so I figured out what my main thing is. And my main thing is my girls, my main thing is taking care of my girls and making those around me better. And I use that book to help me figure out that as well. So now, I'm doing better. I'm not perfect. I'm working towards, being the man that God called me to be, but I feel like I have a direction now because of these things. And I guess now that I have a direction, part of my direction is to help you feel how I feel now. I know there are other guys, especially, and girls, but especially guys my age, older, younger out there right now who are feeling the same thing, feeling stuck, feeling like they don't have time to pursue their passion projects and the same stuff I was feeling, who just need someone to say, I feel you, I see you, and I hear you, and it's gonna be okay, bro. It's gonna be okay, brother. And that's what I'm here to say. And that's what I'm here to do with this podcast is to be a voice for the guys and girls who are struggling in life and need somebody to talk to about it. That is a huge reason we're here. And that's kind of how we wanted to start this podcast. Now, that being said, that's the first chapter, right? That's part of this podcast. Another huge factor, and don't tune this out because I think you'll learn more from this than you think, is I have such a passion for bow hunting specifically, but the outdoors and the hunting industry and community, man, I am working so hard to make that the part of my life that I know it was meant to be because I've never been so passionate about something. And I love it, man. And the people are just phenomenal and connecting with God through nature and, harvesting an animal and then sharing it with your family. And I could talk about this all day, and I will if that's what we need to on another episode, but we're going to talk about hunting. And we are going to share the stories that mean so much to me and the people that mean so much to me in the hunting space and continue to try to grow that part of my life because I want to make a difference and be an influence in the hunting space at some point in my life. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about fitness. I try to take care of myself. I try to eat right and help my family do the same and those around me. So we're going to talk about fitness here. We'll dive into some, good conspiracies with red dyes and all the fun stuff. We'll get into all that here. But, I guess my hope, we talked about the serious note, but I guess my hope for the podcast is just to share relationships with you, share stories with you in this studio that I built with my own two hands here in my garage and try to make a difference in your life and show you what matters to me and have some freaking good times along the way. I guess it's pretty much just that simple. So that's what we're going to do here. A couple ground rules going into this. This is not a podcast for those of you who are stuck in one way of thinking or stuck in one spot. Actually, let me rephrase that. This is the exact podcast for you because we're going to teach you how not to do that. We're going to hear people out here, whether I have a different view from them or not. We're going to hear them out. We're going to be respectful and we're going to have a damn good conversation no matter what. We will not tear each other down here. No matter what my guest says that I disagree with, we will not tear each other down. We will always be respectful. We are not always going to probably be politically correct or say things with the words that you want to hear. So I'm sorry in advance for that. I am just who I am, and I'm not planning on being anything else for this podcast. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. Seriously, it's going to be so much fun, guys. So I'm just so excited. I can't wait to get into this more with you. I'm keeping this first episode pretty quick and light just to break the ice a little bit. Like I said, answer some basic questions. The name, I've gotten a lot of questions about the name. How did we come up with the Vital Pursuit? I think it goes back to that main thing being the main thing issue a little bit. You got to have an aim and a direction. And I think vital pursuit is the way I would word that for me is what is vital? What am I pursuing? What is my vital pursuit? Right? It makes sense. Also, with hunting, I consider that a vital pursuit, the pursuit of an animal and how much that means to me. So kind of draws in that hunting side a little bit as well. But we're going to ask every single person who I have on here the vital question. What is the vital question? That's the thing we're going with there. And you will find out what that is in the next episode with our first guest. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's the name. That's kind of the rough outline of what we're going to talk about. I don't want to say we're going to talk about everything because I've been cautioned not to do that by the podcast gurus, but let's just go ahead and start breaking rules on the first episode because that's how I live my life. We're going to talk about everything. If that tanks our ratings, I'm sorry. We're not in a category. We're going to do it all, but we're going to talk about men's health, hunting, fitness, everybody's mental health. We're going to do a lot of that, but we're probably going to go down some rabbit trails for sure because that's how good conversations go, right? Yeah, of course. So it's going to be great. Yeah, like I said, that's it. Let's keep this quick. Let's not drag this out longer than it needs to be on the first episode. That's where we are going. That's who we are. I can't say thank you enough for all the support on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, texts from my friends reaching out to me, telling me how excited they are about this and giving me the courage to go for it. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. Y'all mean the world to me, and I cannot wait to go on this adventure with you. No matter where we end up, it is going to be a hell of a ride. So thank you so much for tuning into the first podcast. This is the Vital Pursuit Podcast with me, your host, Drew, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Hang in there. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.